Welcome everyone again.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Babylon Balkan Show. We're here with another episode. It will be a very interesting one. And
Mm.
today we have a topic about the European Union, uh, about the young people in Balkans, and their connection with the European Unions, and also non-European Union countries, European Union countries of the Balkans. So yeah, it will be a very interesting episode.
Really, and our guest is really amazing. His name is Marcos Moschovidis. I hope I got his name right. He has a really interesting background, as you can hear from his name. But nevertheless, as we know, he has at least three different countries of background, as he would call them. He knows five different languages. He is, in general, interested in things going on in communication in the terms of EU policies. He has been living in different countries for now, at least some of them that we know from his long biography. He lived in Canada, in Hong Kong, in Belgium. Most of his work that he's done was in Germany, and his recent project is regarding, as we said on a set for this episode, regarding EU, and it's really nice. I like the name. We both like actually. EU for You. It's his non-profit project that he is promoting all the time. You can find it on most of the social media platforms we're gonna share, and he really has a deep insight in what EU means for the people of EU and for the countries that want to become part of EU. So, and his outtake on everything is more than unique. So, yeah, I really look excited for the episode and what's to come. So, welcome once again, and let's start with the episode. Roll the
Yes.
intro video.
And we are back.
Yeah, we are back again. And today's guest, as we said, is Marcos. Marcos, welcome to our Babylon Balkan Show. Good to have you here.
Hello, Marcos.
Thank you so much for the invitation.
Are we pronouncing your name correctly? Most likely not, but just asking.
So Marcos pronounced correctly, but when you address me, you just use Marco without the S. It's a specific Greek grammar case, a little bit like you have it in the or in some of the languages of ex-Yugoslavia. When you see somebody whose name is Zoran, when you address them, you would say Zorane. In Greek, it's a little bit vice versa, so, or rather reverse. You take the S away for all the Greek names. So if you see somebody whose name is Kostas, you just say hey Costa. If it's Sotiri, you just, or if it's Sotiris, you say hey Sotiri, etc., etc.
Didn't know this, so I'm hoping our audience will also learn something new. Not only this, there are many other stuff.
Yeah, thank you
Hopefully,
for
let's-
accepting our invitation and joining our episode today. Yeah, we've been following each other for a very long time actually, but we didn't talk before this invitation. So welcome again.
I'm so happy. Before we start, I just say when you sent me the invitation, I was extremely happy to see people from the Balkans, from different countries as well, getting together, doing a project like this, because I'm, as you might know, if you follow me, I'm always trying to bring the people from the region a little bit together. So it really warmed my heart, and I very happily accepted instantly.
Good. We're also happy from our side.
Okay, like most of the episode, we start with a warm-up question, not about episode, but like to get to know and break the ice. So I have a question for you. What was the best advice you get, and who gave it to you?
The best advice I've gotten, and who gave it? Let's think. Actually,
Good one,
a really good advice that I have gotten for me personally was by one of my uncles, Tetak Brasso. If you're listening, this is for you. He
Pozdrav,
told me
braco.
when I was yeah, exactly. when I was really young, I think he told me something. I don't know the exact wording anymore, but it was something along the lines: "Whatever you wish me, I wish you back double." Basically, so if it's something good, you should receive the same back. If it's something bad, you should receive the double bad back as well. So it's quite a nice thing to do because it makes you your own actions a little better, I think.
Oh, that's interesting. Because there's also a similar belief. I mean, not something religious, but like in the community here in Turkey, like whatever you wish, good or bad, you will get double. So be careful what you wish for in the life.
Yeah.
Works both ways. I totally agree with this philosophy. Really good advice from Bratzo. And Bratzo is from, I'm guessing, from the region as well, from Balkans.
Yeah, he is from the Balkans. Yeah, living in Zagreb.
Oh, nice. And for our
Yeah.
audience to get to know you better, what's your connection to the Balkans privately?
Yeah, so my connection, I didn't choose to be connected to it. I was born into it, like you two as well. So my family on the paternal side is from Greece, but if you go back to the great grandparents, they were living in what is today Turkey. So during the population exchange, they came over. So it's quite deep roots extending beyond the Balkans and to the Black Sea region. And on the maternal side, so my mom, that family is from Croatia, but we also have people in the family who are from other countries, from ex-Yugoslavia, for example, from Bosnia. And this is my connection to it. I grew up speaking in my household both Greek with my dad, as well as Croatian, or a mix of like Croatian, Bosnian, Serbian, all of that mix together with the family. And yeah, that's my connection to it. Ever since, my friend groups have always been, not fully, but there's been a large part who's from the region to this day, and I'm always happy to meet fellow people from there.
That's amazing. And you mentioned from Bosnia, Croatia, and Greece and Turkey. The Turkey part, I mean, on it, what's this time by now? Like each and every episode, or every second episode, somebody mentions about the great population exchange between Greece and Turkey. You cannot avoid it with most of our guests. It's unfortunately light topic, which reappears, but the influence is there. Really unique story. And currently, you're living where?
Currently, I am in Munich, Germany, but waiting for the move to, well, the Balkans capital, namely Vienna, Austria, which has sort of become it against its own will. But my girlfriend, who also has roots, she has Macedonian, Albanian roots. She's living in Vienna. I'm gonna go there soon.
Oh,
So basically, small Yugoslavia community by yourself, just your life and your surrounding.
Yeah, it happened without planning it, but yeah, it sort of came there, and I'm quite happy with it. It showed me the good parts that existed once in the region.
definitely.
You're a perfect example for our channel. That's what we aim. That's what we like. That's what we, at least I envy you. Like really, really good, cool connections. It's really nice. And you're in Munich, and it's also like full with Balkan people. So especially from ex-Yugoslavia, yeah, I can imagine. And you mentioned also Vienna. Spoiler alert: we also have some episodes that will have Vienna as a main topic. So who knows? Maybe you'll be also our next guest concerning this topic.
Yeah, or you can ask her. She knows more about it than I do. But yeah, definitely. Thank you for the invitation.
Nevertheless, we'll keep her in mind. From my side, I would also like to ask you in general one specific, but actually, yeah. What would you like? What when you were little? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, I think it's good that I have this behind me. As you can see, there's a plane. My dad worked for Olympic, back then Airways, then it changed its name to Airlines. And planes were always surrounding me. So pilot was definitely high up on the list, or at least something in the aviation world, because I grew up around it. I was at my dad's office quite often, so I could see planes. I met with some pilots. I was allowed to sit in the cockpit sometimes, etc. So I really had a big love for that. Still do. One of my best friends is a pilot, so I get to enjoy the same thing still. And yeah, that was a big dream. But then I realized that that's not be for me. It's better that other people take care of our safety while we're traveling by air. And I chose a completely different career path.
But this one that you do right now, are you happy with it?
Well, right now I am running my own. Right now it's a completely different field. Now I'm in politics, or basically in the politics world. I'm running my own non-profit project called EU for You, which I started in 2019 with back then a group of 3 other friends of mine. And what it is basically educating, especially young people, about what the European Union is doing for them, how to get in touch with it, what it means in their life, what it can do, what it can't do as well. And it's not just content that's produced because that's how it started. It started as social media content where you just have like a slideshow and people can get a understanding while they're on the run to the in the morning, like swipe through a few slides for 3 minutes, understanding what's happening. I'm also interviewing MEPs, members of the European Parliament, that is, and staff from the NGO world, etc., etc. And yeah, what's going to happen next? I don't know, because this is just my nonprofit project. I'm right now in the phase to start my full employment because I finished university in October completely. So yeah, well, let's see what's going to happen next.
Congratulations on your studies that you finished. And by you mentioned so EU, but before we were talking about the Balkans, talking about traveling, talking about connecting people, and that's where we are today. You did a really cool connection to all, to sum it up, and that's why we invited you today as a person with good Balkan roots, promoting good values among people, connecting them and sharing each other's future, with promoting EU policy, EU values. We would like to know more about where the Balkan stands when it comes to EU and EU member countries of the Balkans, and of course non-EU Balkan members of the country. So first of all, what's the history of EU and the Balkans? Was it always good? How did it went? How it's today?
Well, I guess it depends on which start history. Right? If you look at the First World War or the Second World War, I wouldn't say that was necessarily a good history for anyone involved. But since then, of course, if we go beyond, well, we had the period up until the 90s when we, of course, had terrible wars in ExYugoslavia. Then if you go beyond that, if you go to the early 2000s, that's when the attempts started basically to get closer with the Western Balkan countries from the European Union side. I think one of the key persons in the process was Jacques Chirac, actually, back then. So it was a push from France. And since then, you had different attempts, which are continuing to this. And as of now we have the year 2022, December, so it's nearly ending. We have every single country from the Western Balkans, with the exception of one, namely Kosovo, who are EU candidates. So it's important to say that they're candidates and not members, because this will lead us, I guess, to the next topic, which is, does the region stand today? And I mean, as you have roots in Serbia, I would like to bounce the ball back to you. Where do you see, for example, the future from Serbia and the EU? It's quite a complicated topic, I know, but I don't want to speak on your behalf, so I'm rather going to ask you.
Well, of course, I would like to share my thought about it. So complex, to say the least, depending who you ask. The government has one policy and does the other thing and says the third thing. So that's one side. The other side are the people, which are also divided, depending who you ask. So you have a young population that's educated, and they're more into EU than non-educated ones. Because usually the right wings policies are connected to less educated ones, but there are always exceptions. You'll be surprised. That's on the young side. The older population, again, depends of where you ask them. Are you asking in rural places? Are you asking in urban places? So more or less, I saw some polls that it's now on the epic low level of people wanting to join EU when you ask them. This is their answer, that they don't want it. It's like more than 50% don't want it or are not sure. Which when you compare at the beginning of 2000s was like I think 70%, don't get me on this, 70 or 80, which again is result of years and years of waiting for becoming of EU membership, constantly moving one step further, asking more and more. But on the same side, we didn't push much. Officially, we were saying we did a lot. It's just government wanted to wash their hands, especially in the last 10 years. You see, we did something small and they wanted more. And yeah, they're so bad, they're so mean, but we did this small thing and they're not appreciating this enough. Yeah, fuck them, we're doing other stuff along. Oh, look, Russia, it looks nice. So they're constantly doing this play of like, we are so good and they're appreciating us. Yeah, you're like some girlfriend that doesn't needs more and more attention and just looks aside and just, look at this maybe better. And then EU comes, hey, there's some investments, come on, and some hush money. We're not being part of EU, but here's some hush money, not only for Serbia, but also from Bosnia, Albania, all the Western non-EU countries. So it's like a tragic comedy, if you ask me.
I think tragic comedy is a good way to put it. The question is always who is the comedian, right? I mean, we always have different actors. There are very often days where you say, okay, this is completely on the EU. It's their fault. They are the ones who are responsible for things not going forward. Days of people who are from our countries who are blocking the processes. But I think since we are all relatively young people, don't be fooled by some of the white hairs that I have on the side, but we're still relatively young. I think if you look at our generation, yeah, very good. But if you look at our generation, just judging from the polls, not just my opinion, while of course there is still a very high EU support, it is steadily declining. It's going down, and I think this is one of the key things to focus on, right? Because if you manage to get the most pro-European part of the population to stray away more and more from the European project, how well is it going, And of course we can play the blame game. In my opinion, the European Union in the last 2 decades has been way too hesitant and way too, not brave enough to go forward, to push forward. For example, countries like Macedonia have been in the candidate status since 2005 and only very recently opened their negotiations to join fully. Their chapters, the 35 chapters that you need to fulfill to join. And that's been a process that lasted over 15 years. So how much can you really blame the people that they're losing hope in as well? For example, since we're talking about the country right now, in March of 2020, the big talk was, we're going to open the negotiations now, it's going to begin, and it didn't start until very recently, And if you read this as a young person, it is very reasonable and logical that you're going to be extremely frustrated with what's going on, because you listen to one thing on the television, and then you look in the offline world what's going on around you, and what do you see? Nothing, essentially.
In the end, you're not young anymore. The time passes by and you're like, okay, I'm not in my group anymore.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, that's the irony of it all, no? We're saying the young people are pro-European, but because it's taking so long, they're going to become the old anti-European ones just because they waited so long and they're no longer young now.
Yeah, you plant the seed and then it grows in a different way than you didn't expect. But then which seed did you plant? So go figure out.
Yeah.
They either being anti-EU or they're just moving to an EU country, but they don't push anymore in their own country. They don't push the politics or the governments.
Yeah, you're right on it. I mean, people do, but yeah, Marco.
No, what I wanted to say is I wanted to pick up one of the points that Onat mentioned, this moving to different countries. I don't know if you saw this poll where it showed where the largest diaspora groups live now. So people that are from one country then emigrated to the other, which countries they're from. And on the top 3, you have both Bosnia and Albania. So that tells you all sort of that you need to know about where we stand. People from the region, they're moving away, they're leaving the country. And it's not ending anytime soon. If I look at Greece, Greece is an EU member, so it's a bit of a different case. But in Greece, the financial crisis, over 10% left the country and went to the West. No, so my worry at this stage is, even if miraculously in the next years we would see EU accessions, meaning some of the candidate countries become members, what would happen? Would it actually be? I mean, overall, definitely, I do support it. I'm 100% for it. Don't get me wrong. But in the current environment that we have, because it's been lagging so long, there's a big threat that once they join, what's going to happen is that people just leave the country in even bigger numbers than before. And I'm not saying that they should be trapped, because I have the right to go where I want within the European Union. What person would I be to denounce that right for someone from the region? It's a reasonable fear, because it's already happening inside the EU. So what do you think is going to happen when these countries join as well?
Totally agree with you. And that's the first thing that comes to my mind. Like, they did this with Bulgaria and Romania, later on with Croatia, and big influx. I think 25% of Bulgaria since the 90s is left, not including like down natality and stuff. But for instance, and they know this, and I'm guessing that's also the thing that demotivates EU to push from their side, because they see what happened, they see what's going on, and it's more than obvious the tendency. And that's why, for instance, in last year or so, they gave, or this year, they gave 25 billion for the Western Balkan countries. Like, yeah, you're not becoming members right now. We're doing something. Here's this money for infrastructure. I saw there was some like project that should be, but still not direct. It's more like, here is a blank check. You use it. Go have fun. Just don't complain so much, at least in the upcoming future, at least in a few years. So when it comes up, maybe they'll give again money or something. It really, when you see through the lines, it's more than obvious. And as you said, I'm also 100% for EU as you are. But I saw from EU point of view what's good, what's bad. I see from the countries of Balkans what's bad. So current system is not good. It should be rerun, redone, or whatever. Or I don't know. Should it come from our side that we change it?
The system
Up to
is
debate.
old, I guess. There might be some, sub-community. Like, for example, currently in Balkans, there are like Open Balkan Initiative. And maybe in the EU, there can be like North Initiative, like Central Europe Initiatives, like those kind of thing. And European Union can be some sort of like a main system for them, to support them. But yeah, current system is
quite...
Yeah.
I think it's quite a logical development that things like Open Balkans Initiative are happening, just because of a lack of alternatives. As if people for years and years and years don't see progress in the direction that they actually want, namely European integration, then something like this is going to happen. And while of course one can argue for those different blocks, like you have a Central Bloc, Nordic Bloc, Western Balkans Bloc, whatever, if you look at it from a geopolitical perspective, I do not think that this is the end goal or a good idea for all of us. And I'm speaking collectively, like from the perspective of the European continent here, because if you look at what is going on right now, you have geopolitically, not just the war that's happening in Ukraine, but also tensions that you have between China and the US, etc. Then you have other countries that are outside of Europe trying to increase their power, not just inside the EU, but also in the Balkans. So I don't think that if we make ourselves all smaller into smaller blocks, that we have a chance to be relevant in this global field, because you're only as strong as the collective, So if you are a very small collective, not just in terms of GDP, but in terms of what you produce, in terms of like social stability, in terms of education level, mobility within, etc., it's going to be difficult, because how are you? The Western Balkans 6 are a population of 20 million. So let's assume that all of them form together some type of union. How are they alone going to compete against a country like China, where the population exceeds a billion? It's just a numbers game. So I think the only reasonable future that all of these countries have, and I'm including specifically EU countries, this is a shared future. But it often feels like they didn't understand this yet. And that's one of the problems that I have often when I listen to speeches from Brussels, but also coming from the capitals of European countries, where they speak in a way as if the EU was a very, very big like global player. Yes, it's completely relevant. It has a lot of economic power. It shouldn't be underestimated, but it is not on the same level as, for example, the United States. And unless you actually expand your reach on the continent and try to create a system that benefits the people in it so that it can actually flourish, I don't see this happening, and I only see decline from here on.
United we prevail, separated we fail, or something like that. Somebody said
Yeah.
this. Was maybe Churchill. I don't want to use it falsely, but somebody said it. Yeah. Sounds
Dusha
like him.
said it.
At least I said it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
Then
all
they
that
will say,
matters.
I'm a thief. Thank you. If somebody said it. But yeah, I totally understand. You mentioned US. Of course, some people tend to have Europe, not EU, but Europe as a whole centralized and has a system as US, which is the biggest advantage. So US is not only monetary union, it's also like political union. We in Europe, okay, have Eurozone as a monetary union. We have customs union, free flow of capital and people, but political union still far-fetched from the US. And I think it's the biggest advantage that will never catch up the US. And I think we should never do this because US has some specific national sentiment, although there's not, in my opinion, they're not a specific American. They're American with different backgrounds and different thoughts and stuff. And they're bipolar community. So it's completely other story. And we are multi everything. So we can never achieve this, but as you said, we should stay at least together and form specific system where we're gonna have the influx of people going from one country to another, which is normal. Migrations happen every time since the beginning of humankind, whether is it natural disasters, economic stuff, wars, you name it. So yeah, it's a tough one to achieve.
Yeah, it's a question of balance, right? I wanted to ask you this actually because I often ask my friends who are from the region. So on LinkedIn, I have put as my language skill, I speak Greek and Croatian, and my education, like my work experience, etc. What happens very, very often is that I get emails from both Greece and Croatia. They want to recruit me for a job, but because I also speak German, all of the jobs are connected to something that has to do with Germany, basically, or it's something where I would be speaking English and working on behalf of like Western or like Northern European companies. So it feels like if you're educated, one of the steps forward if you want to stay in the region is to accept a job where you're working for somebody in a Western country. But if actually you have the opportunity to leave, you will always leave, because why would I work for a German company from Croatia when I go to Croatia and then earn way more than that, you know? So I wanted to ask if you get this as well.
I mean, I'm an example of it. I moved to Germany from Serbia because of my skills, because I could never find them in aviation industry. As you mentioned at the beginning, some people know it already. I would never find it in Serbian aviation manufacturing. So you name it, that's why. And it's normal. I can give an example. Have you heard of Foundation Dr. Zoran Đinđić or Ostaušus, that they have this stipendium program where they find young talented people from Western Balkans? So you know it. And for their audience, so basically they try to find every year up to 75 people from the Western Balkan region. So including Croatia, because Croatia was part even before becoming EU. And they send us all for 6 months, 3 to 6 months in Germany to have internship. And the goal is to get the German know-how in different fields of your studies. It can be economics, it can be mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, IT, what you name it. But social sciences, no. And when you get this know-how, you come back to your region. That's the end goal. Come back to a region, use this knowledge, you connect with German companies in the region, build your company, whatever. That's the ultimate goal. Unfortunately, in the end, as you mentioned, in the end, those same companies that got you to Germany and you came back from, they're inviting you to come back to get full-time employment in Germany. Or not them, others. You stay in your home country, in Croatia, in Bosnia, in Serbia, Macedonia, Kosovo, Albania, wherever. And at one point, they find that you're talented, that you have experience working abroad, working in Germany, wherever, and they somehow headhunt you, or when you apply, you see opportunities, and you get easily back. So the system is broken. They have like a really good initiative, which I really appreciate. And I tried to work in Serbia to get a better career and stuff. I gave a shot for a couple of years, didn't do much. So that's why I moved later on. Didn't move immediately. I gave a shot. So you see, the system is completely illogical. And then they'll complain, hey, your program has a lot of people coming back to Europe. Yeah, of course, because the companies are not obliged by German government or whoever to let them stay in the region. Yeah, and who is here crazy now? So,
What about you, Anna? Do you
complete mess.
also get these type of emails?
Well, for Turkey, it is a bit different story, I guess, because they mostly want us to stay in Turkey, and they can pay us less than the Europe salaries. But currently, a lot of talented people are moving to other cities with the sponsorship from the companies, and so yeah, it is like 50-50, but mostly senior level people are going. They get that opportunity. Most of them are taking that, and maybe like 20% they have like family and kids. They want them to stay in the Turkey. But for the young people, the currently US companies, European companies are using Turkey to have a little bit like a cheap country, a cheap workforce, and they want us to stay in Turkey.
Yeah. Now, I'm asking specifically because of the point you mentioned before, economic union, etc., etc. But that's always one of the biggest things I'm concerned about, because it's something that I'm surrounded with in my friend circle and my family. Is how beneficial is it if once you become a member, because this is what I've seen with Croatia, everyone who's educated, or nearly everyone, decides to leave or is working on behalf of companies that have nothing to do with your country. I understand, of course, it's an economic union, so in theory it's all the same EU wealth, etc. How much of it is going back into the domestic market always, even if you're a net recipient, meaning that you get more out of the EU funds than you pay in, but how much more could you get if you had a functioning system inside the country where people would actually choose to want to stay there, And I can also not blame anybody individually. I get requests to help people with writing their CVs, their cover letters, to go to Western Europe all the time, and it's impossible to tell them, why are you doing this? I understand 100% why they're leaving. I wouldn't want to stay there either. That's why all the offers that I got as well, because it doesn't make sense. But I think this is, and I'm speaking from the perspective again from young people, one of the biggest questions for us in regard to European ambitions. How will this impact basically our chances at home? Will it actually make a difference? Because judging from what type of conversations I'm having, the number one reason why people want to is because it's easier to leave. Essentially, it's not because they think it's going to make the country better. It's just, okay, it's going to be easier for me to leave, find a better paying job, and that's it.
Unfortunately. Exactly. I don't know if there are polls. You're right. Nobody pays attention to it. Usually when people, you mention not only Serbia, Montenegro, Bosnia, wherever in the Western Balkans, EU, what's EU for you? Oh, good money, good chance to go there, travel along. So, I don't know, better than here. Nobody thinks at first, okay, nowadays with, for instance, in Serbia, Macedonia, you have a lot of pollution. So they also you have ecological migration. So, but that's other thing. Now they have, how can I say, as people get more educated as time passes by, not just the money itself. Initially it is. Now they say, look at the politics, look at the corruption. I don't like living here. They just now people are mentioning me as well, honestly. I was like, okay, I have better opportunity for my career because of career itself, because it's interested, it's for myself. But still, I have better system, less pollution, you name it. And that's in the end the thing. Before, our grandfathers, our fathers were mostly going to earn in Western Europe and come back when they go to pension. Nowadays, if you ask young people, they say theoretically, but seeing how it progresses, they don't think like coming back, because where would they come back? In which system? So that's completely other thing.
And I'm not mentioning any of those points to be against European integration. I think it's just something that should be discussed a lot more in the process. What is going to happen to ensure that you don't have a massive outflux out of the countries, so that the European integration actually benefits citizens who stay. It doesn't just benefit those who leave, because some people also can't leave. For example, and I have those cases in my own environment where where people need to stay because they need to take care of, for example, elderly people who have an illness. They can't. So it needs to be beneficial for them as well. And this is something that's extremely important. And I don't want to go on a too long monologue with this topic and talking about brain drain, but I wrote
should.
one of my.
That's why we're here.
Okay. So this is something that I want to share with you because I believe you will find it interesting, and it's connected to Balkans too. So in the master's degree that I did, I wrote my master thesis on the topic of brain drain from Greece and from Croatia, and how one specific EU fund, which is called the European Regional Development Fund, is assisting in basically reducing that brain drain. Because of course you have normal levels of migration and you have extraordinary ones, and what we're seeing in countries are very extraordinary ones. So I was wondering, what is the EU doing with its money to combat that, to make sure that people also see a future in their own country? And this is a point that I want to underline. While we can blame the EU for certain things, we also need to blame very much the governments of the countries themselves. Because out of all the funds that were available in the periods that I looked into, they didn't even take out more than 65% of all the available funds, So you have a lot of funds that are untouched. You have mismanagement of the funds. Then you have some money that is taken out for projects that are taking years to complete. And I'm not saying because there are such big projects, but because there's so much like mismanagement happening inside the country, and like nobody knows who's responsible for what, etc., etc. And this is also equally frustrating, because imagine you're a citizen who's in the country, who decides, I want to stay, I really want to stay because of my family, whatever, and nobody likes to leave their country unless they really have to, right? Then you see, okay, the EU is giving money for certain projects, but nothing is happening, or way too little is happening with it. You also have a big frustration.
I totally understand this. Why they don't take money? Because of the rigorous procedures that and monitoring that EU puts on those. Meaning, there's no much corruption with those money, and they're less motivated to do anything with those money. You know this abbreviation EMT? No, how it goes? Yeah, ima tu mene. Rough translation. Am I there? Meaning, am I involved in getting that money into my pocket? If there's no EMT, then why would I do it?
Yeah,
basically,
exactly.
that's the goal of our government. 65%. I didn't know this percentage. It's
no, not 5,
huge.
like under 65, not 5, like under 65. But still, there's over 40% nearly not being used at all.
That's wait. And in the end, you also said, okay, that money, even it's not used completely. To be honest, at least I know for this. In Serbia, which is a good example, they always bolster about, of course, Russia here, Russia there. But in the end, on the paper, the EU gives much more money than Russia does.
Yeah,
and,
way more for...
and the narrative is completely different. But I don't know if EU can. I know they're trying to promote EU values and stuff. But again, it's multi-layer problem that you cannot easily solve with just commercials on the buildings or on the billboards or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's terrifying.
That's the question, right? How do you translate reality into perception, basically? Because we have one reality, but then we have a completely different perception in many people. And as you mentioned, the Serbian case, if you just look at the trade between Serbia and the European Union, and the trade between Serbia and Russia, it's minuscule in comparison. Like here you have the EU, and here you have Russia. If you look at the trade, in a lot of people's minds, it's different. So how do you change it?
To be honest, the first argument they use is those two liberal EU values, LGBTQ community, not round cucumber, not but I like the cucumber. It is, they found out like I cannot make my rakia in the backyard because of EU policies. Like some random stuff. I don't know how much is it true, to be honest. I never checked it out.
Yeah.
They just say, oh no, that's too much regulation for me. I don't like it. No. Russia doesn't ask any regulation from me. So
do you think they ever checked it out? I mean, you said you didn't check it out. Do you think they checked it out? Whenever somebody tells me this, I ask them, okay, tell me the regulation, please. Tell me now the regulation where you saw this, and then we can continue the conversation. And I've not once in my life gotten an answer.
When I was a kid, there was a discussion about EU and Turkey dialogues, and actually, Dusan, you ate the kokoreç, and actually it is a Greek food. but
Very
it
good
is
one.
very popular in Turkey. And there was news like EU, when we join EU, they will ban cockroach because it's not, healthy, and there was like dozens of TV programs. They're like the chefs making the making the cockroach on live TV. We will not give up of this food. If it takes to not join EU, we will not join EU. But and these kind of stupid discussions, I don't know. Like, it was very fun for us to watch it, but we knew that it was stupid. But people really, change their idea with those kind of topics, with this kind of discussions.
And on it, for all of our audience that do not know what cockroach is, for all of our foodies, can you explain what cockroach is?
I'm not sure if I have the enough English.
I can try. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
just correct me if I'm wrong. The intestines from a lamb or a sheep.
Yeah,
Or
sheep.
again,
Sheep or lamb.
Yeah. And so basically, intestines. It's wrapped up on a horizontal bar, so it's almost like a horizontal doner. Yes, it's wrapped up, and it's underneath it's cool, and it's cooked, and it's really nice. You basically have a doner from intestines and not from regular meat.
Yeah,
but it's really tasteful. I really like it.
And Ona just said it's a Greek food, so it's your problem if you get death threats, not mine.
No, I mean, I already had that trouble on Twitter because I said it is a Greek, because I always check the etymology origin of the words, because cockroach is obviously not a Turkish word. When you check in the etymology, it says it's Greek. So
yeah,
case is closed for me.
For me,
case closed.
Those food wars, I find hilarious that there's some people who actually take it seriously. Like, I often post memes about it because I find it insane how many people actually get angry about it. I'm laughing when I see the comments and people take it so seriously as if you insulted their entire family. It's so funny because my standing was always this: if it tastes good, I'm happy somebody created like a good dish, wherever it's from. And realistically speaking, I mean, this is my opinion, and I will again get a lot of shit for this probably. But if you just look at the history of the Ottoman Empire, so many people lived like door next to door, from different backgrounds. Yeah. How can you pin down the one person, like with the one ethnicity, and say, okay, we did this, There must have been like somebody who had the idea first, and somebody else took the recipe, added a little bit of flavor, added spices, took out something else, etc. So in my opinion, it's very, like, all of this is very much like a shared Balkan effort. Of course, somebody wants to claim their food, amazing, but what matters to me is, can you prepare it nicely or not? For example, like a baklava, I don't like Greek baklava that much. I think the Bosnian one tastes way better. And then when I say this to some Greek people, they're like, oh, how can you say this? You're crazy, blah, blah, blah. But that's just my opinion. If it tastes good, then you're the one who claim it because you prepared it the best way. If you don't make it nicely, then I don't care if you invented it.
Yeah, it's your fault. Doesn't give you like excuse. Like, no matter how good it is, it's Greek, so you need to like it. Yeah. Really bad excuse.
Yeah, I always get in trouble with this topic because I always say, like, for the true information for me, because like there are some names not obviously Turkish, or there are some names that obviously Turkish, and the difference part, like, they're fighting for that. I'm just saying, okay, this doesn't sound Turkish, so be calm down, enjoy, and don't fight against that.
Yeah,
exactly.
You know what's funny is that most of the time, the people in the comments as well, they're not taking it seriously. They're joking about it too. But every now and then, I get a DM request from somebody who's sending me like this long paragraph, basically talking about how this food is specifically from their country, and he's going to unfollow me because I said something else. And sometimes they block me as well because I said something like yogurt is Greek, but with a meme next to it where you see the Turkish person that explains, because in my opinion, if you look at the etymology, it's 100% closer, like realistically, that it's something Turkish.
Central
I
Asian,
put
yeah.
it in there. Yeah, exactly. So I put it in there. Everybody who's normal understands that I'm just making fun of the people who are fighting about it, and then somebody takes it so seriously that they block me over it. It's just hilarious to me.
There'll all be some trolls here and there, and people in putting comments. I guess their lives are not so interesting, or who knows? Who knows? Maybe they had a bad day, and it's their ultimate goal to do something like this. And like I said it to him, nice. I'm good for
Yeah.
myself. I can go now, sleep, and cry to sleep now.
Yeah. Once I said, like, in Turkish cuisine, the seafoods are not very, like, we don't have good chefs to prepare seafood like fish and stuff. And people said, "Are you kidding me? In the Aegean side, all people love it, and yeah, they love it. They do it, but they don't do it good." Like, and even the fish names in Turkish, it's not Turkish. It's all Greek, like Chipro, levrek. Like they're all Greek names. Like we don't even have the names for the fishes.
Yeah. Media, which Kurds make the best, which is again ironic. Kurds were never on the sea, but
True.
they make the best one.
You know, one of the biggest reasons. Sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Okay. Now, I was going to say one of the biggest reasons to finally, and I hope to see this very soon, to give Turkish people the chance to come to EU and their closest neighbor, namely Greece. Sorry, Bulgarians, but one of the major reasons to do that is that people can go fight about their fish like in a tavern together, so they don't have to do it online anymore. Just let them sit at the table. Yeah. Everyone brings their own dish. Everyone can then check like which one is the best. Let's do blind testing. Finally give people a visa. It's been a long time due. And then they can sit next to each other. Everyone gets a blindfold. Nobody knows who prepared it. And then they can have their wars. Because what's going to happen is a lot of Greek people are going, the Turkish people, they prepared it better. And the Turkish people are going to say the Greek people prepared it better. And their whole world is going to collapse.
Marco just gave me a perfect idea for a YouTube channel about blind testing with people with usually hate each other and just voila. It's amazing.
This like they do with the DNA test.
Yeah. Those ones are really good. Yeah. Dusha, we can do a fair Balkan deal. 80% of the income to me, 20% to you. You do all the work. Fantastic.
Good. Yeah, perfect. fair Balkan deal, exactly. Your idea is worth at least 80% worth. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's find a fund from the EU.
As well. I only want to see the money. Yeah.
Oh, good enough. I don't like anyone to spoil my creative work. So good. You'll get your money. I'll be...
Can't we find a funding from the EU for this project?
Yeah, it's good because we fight against stereotypes, against people fighting each other, bringing them together. There's a good business case there. Yeah,
okay,
you're right.
Our podcast project finishes here, so we are starting a new business.
Perfect.
Now that you understood where the money actually is, the podcast is over.
Totally. We were just looking our way through. Somebody to give us some idea. We found it, shut things off. We're packing our stuff.
No, but in order to get EU funding, we just need to have a very good EU wording. You need to say something like, I don't know, holistic, cross-cultural, culinary experiences, etc., and then just use some very specific EU terms, and then we can get the funding. No problem.
Yeah, we can use the artificial intelligence for that.
Exactly. I wanted to say this. Now we have this one that Onad loves to use, and I'm really fascinated what he does with it. What's the name again? You're promoting it. We hope we're gonna get some sponsorship. What's the name on it?
OpenAI is some product like from OpenAI, GTP, something like that.
GTP something. Did you hear about this, Marco?
A friend has apparently written some of their articles with this stuff. So.
They're trying PhDs as well, so go figure.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Honestly, speaking honestly, I've seen this unfortunately, after I finished university, and then I put in some stuff and looked at the results. It's crazy. But it's not just this one. I don't want to do free product placement for you, so you can beep it if you want to. But there's one that you can look into if you're interested. It's called Quillbot. I don't know if you know that one. Quillbot is crazy. You can just put in a text, and then it paraphrases the text for you, and it works amazingly. You can write research articles like that very well.
Mm-hmm. It also like for my side, it also showed me how our written materials stupid in today's world, because we all writing the same thing actually, just to write like cover letters, like job applications. Actually, they are like 80% same, and we are just doing it for no reason. And it also shows us, like, people are saying, "Oh, our writing skills will decrease with these tools." And what I see is it's already decreased, because what the outcome is
Yeah.
always the same, and we're all writing the same thing over and over again for different things.
You never know. There's some options to expand some other skills while you focus on other stuff. You never know. It's so as it goes with the job. When technology
Yeah.
develops, they say, "Oh, we lose jobs." Yeah, but you create another field. It's transition. It goes in phases. Of course, it's radical changes, but it's eventually the people in the economy. Some people fail, some people win. No, it's so c'est la vie. It's life as it is.
Yeah.
So what can you do?
Yeah.
Coming back to our
What-
topic, Onat, that you mentioned. Sorry, Mark, you want to say something?
No. Yeah, I wanted to go back to the topic. So
Yeah. It's free to divert from topic as much as you want. So just not to forget, when Onat mentioned, I really noticed this about kokoreç. Coming back to food again, when you mentioned about when you were young. So we are coming back to this thing. There was a lot of talk about EU when we were young. So we were the kids of the 90s, all three of us, and there was a lot of talk, especially in the Balkans, in Turkey, about the EU when we were young. And now it's not so much. The support is decreasing, and I would like to know, Onat, in Turkey nowadays, how much percentage-wise, or how is the general feeling about Turkey in EU? Nobody's mentioning this about this these days, so I want to know what's the situation.
Well, I didn't check, but as a guess, I can say, like, people are like 60% they are positive, but it is not their main issue. They don't care about. They don't ask even for the election discussions to the candidates about what is your EU politics, because we have we have better problems, and they are mostly positive, and they understand that when Erdogan attacks EU, there's actually nothing to fight. He's just getting some attention to other side instead of his mistakes, instead of economics. They're saying, like, they're attacking our economy with the. So to cover those, they are saying that they're fighting against us. They're putting spies in the country, but like not many people are taking it seriously, and it's decreasing also. So it is mostly positive, and young people also want, but as I said, it's not our main problem now. Also, people are angry because European Union's movement against Turkey actually not weakening the Erdogan, making him stronger. And people are saying, "Are you stupid? Why are you saying this kind of thing? Like, he is taking it as advantage. If you just stay silent, it will be more beneficial for us." But yeah, their the way of doing politics in Turkey is very different, and I guess they still didn't understand that.
To be honest, Onat, I think whatever EU says, not only in Turkey, in Serbia, in other Western Balkan countries, the politicians can easily spin the story in every topic that you mentioned. Hey, as you said about journalists, free speech, they say you should have free speech. Yeah, we kind of want to have free speech in Turkey, but you put in spies, so here and there, so you can easily spin this whole story around. But Marco, do you know what's the EU standpoint of Turkey? They're like I think Onat, you did some research. When did they apply for EU membership?
We are the candidates since 1999.
No, the candidate since 1999, and candidate status, or the candidate status when they opened the negotiation was 2005, I think.
Yeah, 2005.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been now
the-
17 years nearly.
Yeah, it was
Almost
very
as
positive
Macedonia.
for a while. Then after 2013, I guess everything's changed. After the big protests in Turkey and Erdogan's behavior change, and everything changed after that.
Mm.
Mm.
Are there any talks in EU, Marco, about Turkey and EU? I only heard about the refugee crisis and nothing else afterwards.
Yeah, I think right now the main communication channel, the one that people are seeing, is related to the refugee deal. I mean, in the back there are things happening related to environmental standards being transferred or being tried to be put on the same level. Like there is some stuff happening in the background which is not seen so much, but looking at EU accession, I think for now everyone, both in Turkey and in EU, knows that it's frozen for now. Unfortunately, I still hope to see it in my lifetime. Whether it's going to happen, who knows? But I think the current status quo in the EU, but also with the leadership in Turkey, there is not going to be so much common ground to push this forward realistically. I mean, there is exchange, but it's not an exchange that people are seeing or where people have the idea that, okay, this is leading somewhere. It's just some minimal stuff going on in the background.
That's my general impression. I think most of the people that follow this thing, they just want to have Turkey on the side as in a backyard to use it to dump their stuff they don't like. For instance, for refugees. Sorry for this explanation.
Well, actually,
but
it's literally true, because also some North countries sending their trash to Turkey. Turkey is buying trash and they're burying in the lands. So yeah.
You see, even that. And plus, so I also knew when I was little, okay, EU, Turkey, and then I also know one of the main imperatives of being part of EU is to be stable politically and not have wars and stuff. And on the border with Syria, Iraq, and Kurdish insurgency here and there, it's impossible in that terms. Even if you had all these things settled somehow, you have refugees, then you settle this somehow, then you have internal stuff going on with Erdogan, just saying Erdogan. And I mean, you can say more on
that. You
Yes,
will
Marco.
of course also then have if you solve all of these issues, you will still have the problems inside the EU. On the one hand, you will have governments, that's just a fact, everyone knows this, that just don't want a Muslim country this size inside the EU. That's just common knowledge, because there are conservative right-wing governments that are against it. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows it. We might as well just say it out loud. And then the second thing is, of course, you will need to find some solutions between Greece, Cyprus, and Turkey. As long as this is not cleared, you will always have this veto standing. So there will need to be some actions taken there as well. And I think you need to have a very, 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 right now, utopian seeming window of opportunity where you have extremely progressive governments in the three EU countries that I mentioned, in a lot of the other EU countries at the same time. And there needs to be like peace and quiet and calm on the borders in Turkey, and politically it needs to be okay. So I'm not saying that it's never going to happen, because maybe it will, but looking at the difficulty level of it, I don't think that it would be reasonable to assume in the next years we will see an improvement. I'm hoping for it from the bottom of my heart, but realistically, I don't see it.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, for me, Turkey shouldn't even need any like economic positiveness from the economic thing from the EU, because Turkey really have good sources, also young population. Just need some like smart politics in the country, because if we use those sources, those people, EU will say, okay, join us. And we can think, okay, we can say. But
the bargaining.
But Turkey is never be smart enough to do those movements, like not just for Erdogan, even before, because Erdogan is just one person in 20 years. It's really long, but we have like 100 years of history, and those history full of people like Erdogan is not something new for us. He just has like better speech. He used his opportunity more smartly, but the previous people, it wasn't different than Erdogan. So we need to change the mentality here, and then people, if they're smart enough, I'm not sure. Yeah, they will find some way to how they see the government, how they see their life, their value. Then we can have a rich country. We can have good relations with any country. We can solve the Cyprus problem in one day. Yeah,
Most
but
of the problems can be easily solved. Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to correct you,
I'm
Anat. You mentioned
seeing,
something. Sorry, Marco, just about the Onat. You said all the people from Turkey in the last 100 years were the same. What about your Ataturk? Come on, you don't think that's the same for him. It's still 100
No,
years.
of course, I'm a Kemalist, but the establishment of Turkey has some rules of the state, about the state. We see the state as a father because we didn't build it. Some people, like small amount of people, built the state. So what the normal citizens see the state something unreachable, or not something we can discuss, not something we can blame or make comment about it.
Marco, you were saying?
yeah, what I wanted to say is from my exchanges, both with the Turkish friends that I have in my own like private life, but also with people that I'm talking to online, and I'm saying specifically what young people want is for them, they have this. And this is what I'm just repeating what I'm told. So it's not my opinion. I'm just repeating what I'm told. For them, the number one thing is that like visa, be able to travel to Europe. Of course, hopefully this will be possible once the economy stabilizes and inflation reduces, so the money is worth something. But this type of stuff, be able to travel, then have more opportunities for Erasmus exchanges, just the super basic stuff. Nobody's talking in much details about like, I know, specific economic laws or environmental laws. There are some people, I'm not saying that everyone is doing it, but generally the overwhelming majority of things I'm hearing are really these very normal things that EU citizens can enjoy, like freedom to travel where they want, have like more funding programs that are specifically for young people, and things like, I mean, this is not connected to the EU, it's a bit different, but something like Eurovision, this is what the people have on their radar, actually, mostly. And I don't think that it's too difficult to achieve those things. There just needs to be more will. Yes, there are Erasmus programs, this exists, but to just expand these things and show the persons who are pro-European that there are still people who care for them and who care for their wishes. Don't make it too overly political, where you say it's like an either or deal. Either you go in fully and then you get all those benefits, or not. But just make sure that the people who are on your side are involved in the process, because it could also change the country internally. But again, this is not for me to decide or for me to comment, really, because it's up to the Turkish population.
You're correct. Like visa processes now is a nightmare, because the countries, they don't deal with the visa process. The company dealing with here, and even the applying is a nightmare. And just this week, two of my friends get rejections from one of the Germany and Netherlands just for travel. And just for the visa application, you have to buy your ticket, you have to make reservation for the hotel and everything. And it's really difficult to understand also the country's decisions, because if you have money, they think, okay, you have money, you can come here and stay longer than you say, so we don't give you the visa. If you don't have money, okay, you have no job, no money, so you're just an immigrant to coming here to find a job. So yeah, for example, right now Dushan always telling me to come and visit, and just for this process I don't do any kind of attempt to application for visa, like sort of like protesting that.
Yeah.
No.
And also
People getting
I see a lot of I see a lot of posts that tourists come to Turkey. They're coming to Turkey and sharing videos on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere. And Turkish young people on the comments. It's really heartbreaking. Their comments like I cannot live this life in my country and someone else coming to my country, living the best life, visiting everywhere that I didn't even imagine to go. So yeah, the economic collapse and their limits are really bad currently, and yeah, I hope it will solve soon.
When you
There's
have lack of
disgusting comments as well. Like if sometimes I see people who are posting pictures from their vacations or like videos in Turkey and are basically bragging like how cheap everything is, how great everything is, and it's so disrespectful to the local population, and I fully understand it. And this type of behavior also contributes enormously to people becoming more and more EU, because if this is the type of behavior that you see from the people who you're supposed to be in a union with, what are you going to think about this union? Like you just feel like they're and it's true. I mean, it's an arrogant behavior and it feels like they're belittling you, even if they don't maybe do it on purpose, but it's just the choice of words that's so unreflected it leads to this result.
Yeah, many of them don't have any idea about the economic crisis now, but yeah, I saw they now changed. They use affordable instead of cheap because they kind of understand it is not kind word to say. Actually, yeah, that's nice. Actually, at least.
Yeah,
and
but
you mentioned
affordable
Marco
to
before.
who,
Sorry.
Exactly. You mentioned Marco like it's disrespectful and it's more alienating people. Not only that, people themselves in Turkey, when you said they cannot travel so much as they want, plus economic crisis, that's also lacking the opportunity to see other things, to expand your knowledge, to meet people, also Erasmus. So it's double trouble, so to say. They see other people coming, don't have the opportunity to do the same. So lacking the future, expanding themselves in any possible way. And people, as you said, Donat, as well, people don't know this, especially in the Balkans. To be honest, when Donat was visiting me in Serbia, I told to my friends, but if he goes by land, he needs to go take a transit visa through Bulgaria. They say, why? I said, because he cannot go through EU without visa. Really? Then I talked to other people in Montenegro, in Albania. They say, Turks come and go. Yeah, they can come in the region without visa because of special status and cooperation with Turkey. But EU, no. And like, wow, really? And it's one of us was explaining this now. It's really, really a bad thing. I mean, at least, as you said, Marco, basic to allow this, and then we can go one step further.
Also, I wanna point out that not only blaming EU countries for visa thing, also Turkish government does the painful process for us for the passport, because we have the most expensive passport in the world. We pay around like 200 euros for the passport just to get it, and also getting that is impossible now with the also chip crisis. And you have to, for example, for 2 years, like until 2 years ago, it was like 80 pages. Now it is 40 pages, and it's if you travel a lot, it's gone like in a year, and you have to pay again to get another one. So it's not only other countries, our own countries does the thing to limit us to go other places in the world.
Yeah. And speaking from my Greek perception, and basically what I find important for Greece is, of course, as a Greek, I want to have the best possible relations with every single country that is close to Greece, and that includes Turkey. And how are we going to have good relations if Greece, being a member of the EU, because of it being a member, there such visa problems for Turks? Even if Turks who want to visit, there's Turks who live who live in the country and who look at Greek islands every single day, and they can't even go there. I mean, you have those like day visas, etc. This does exist, but aside from that, if you go to the island, why should you not be allowed to go like to the mainland as well? There are so many people that I to come visit me in Thessaloniki, as you say in Turkish, because many people have their family roots there. I told them I know the city quite well. I have my family there. I want to show you around. And how is it going to happen? They can't, There's way too high of a risk. right now with the economy, I mean, that's not an EU problem that what's happening with the economy, but still, even if the economy was stable, you have the money, you cannot come because you don't know if it's going to happen. And it's just really, really heartbreaking. And it fuels the conflict even more because if you allow people to exchange, to meet, actually speak with each other, you will never ever have the amount of stupid like arguments and threats and whatnot that we see online and in the media, because people would understand how similar they are. If you go like as a Greek to a Turkish restaurant or as a Turk to a Greek restaurant and you just look at what's on the table in front of you, like you will realize how pathetic it is to have all those troubles, you know. So I think one of the key issues here is to resolve is allowing people to meet and exchange, and then it would like there would be a bottom-up approach where from the population they wouldn't buy this hostility from politicians as much, you know. They just wouldn't, because they understand when like, if you go to a Greek village, you will in very many cases, okay, there's not going to be mosques, there's going to be churches, still the way that people live, the way that the people interact, this communal thinking, etc., is so similar that you're not going to buy this idea that is told to you. And I'm saying this as well for Greek people who would go to a Turkish village. You wouldn't buy this that this is my enemy, you know.
It's the same in so comparing the relation Greek and Turkey, also in the ex-Yugoslavia area. If I didn't go to Erasmus, if I didn't, it was not part of this internship program, also going some events, I would not understand that people in the region are much more similar to me than the people that are on the news and stuff. And although they say, okay, you're going around the same group of people, like they're young, they're like you, but no, people with different backgrounds, people that had people, their parents or some relatives died in the war and stuff, but still have, they're really, I can say, brave people, and they're really amazing people that are, besides this, despite this, they're still being friendly and open-minded. So, and you notice that there are much more similarities, of course, in language-wise, not only this. But I think Freud or Nietzsche said this, that when their similarities are lesser, the more conflict you get. So, and it's unfortunate it was like that, not only here, but all around the world. And when people go and meet, and I think nowadays, and as you said, meeting up, people are less more into conflicts. But although we meet more than Turks and Greeks, there should be much more, and less media, less stuff. Less fighting on the gaming online channels. Some people make friends, no, don't get me wrong. Some people fight a lot, and they're like 15, 16, they ever saw war and they're nothing, and they're like, oh, look at this, they're so right-wing. I guess we all went through this phase when we were young, at least in the Balkans, like right-wing one, and some people grow out of it. Some people stay forever. So I just hope for the next generations that they will grow up and be better than we are and our parents. Well, yeah.
I mean, luckily, I never had that phase, but I know a lot. I know what you're saying.
In the Balkans, in Germany and West, luckily no, or at least most of them not, that they're not living in the bubble. But in the Balkans, a lot of young testosterone pumped kids in bad economy, bad shapes. So, usually the right wing, gets that way.
The thing is also that. Sorry, Ona, go ahead.
Go, please.
Please, you're our guest.
I wanted to say that it produces a lot of like tragically comedic content in a way, and I would be able to laugh about a lot of the things very, very much if I wouldn't know that it translates into the political level as well. But when I see people fighting over like Constantinople and Istanbul 1453, I was asking to myself, like, what's wrong with you? You're fighting about something that happened before, like in the 15th century, and we have the year 2022 now, you know? It's just crazy how riled up people can get over these topics that like back in history hundreds of years ago, and they act like the person they're talking to is directly responsible. Like you see fights between people who are both born in 2003, 2004 that are fighting about like the Ottoman Empire, and I'm just wondering what is wrong with both of you.
That's the question. So many layers.
This Constantinople and Istanbul name fights are really stupid, because Istanbul's name was a Constantinople until the Republic. So Ottoman Empire was also using that name. It's not something we changed after we took the name of Istanbul comes from the Constantinople, like a shorter, like Turkified version, and people are putting different meanings on them, like Islambol, like relating with the Islam. So it's really stupid. Also, I am from Izmir. In my generation, there was not any hate for like against Greece because we were in education with like more modern history books. But for the previous generation in the city, there was always some sort of like hate against Greece because it's the main city where the big war happened with the Greek and Turkey war. I like that. I didn't have that education. I had more modern, more open education.
Also, I want to specifically say to my friend Erencan, if he's listening to this, he's living in Ankara. He's excluded this. I'm not going to insult him here on the podcast.
You mean Angora? The Turkish version, Ankara. Okay. I have a question for you, Marco. I have actually two more questions before we wrap this up. About EU in the Balkans. One is, how do you see EU members currently in the Balkans? How is their position in the EU and their future? So, namely, Slovenia, Croatia, Bulgaria, Romania, Greece. Yeah, how are they doing?
Well, I mean, Greece, as you know, is the economic powerhouse of the European Union. Everything is going fantastic there. Our economy is awesome. No, I mean, it's from a Greek perspective, everyone's leaving the country. Yeah, not everyone is leaving the country. I can just give you a concrete example. In my last master's, we were around 9 or 10 people from Greece, and also nearly the same one from Turkey, by the way. Out of this entire group, so nearly 20 people, there is a single person that went like back to their home country. Everybody else is going look for work elsewhere, you know. I think that sums it up where the country is heading for young people who get education, at least. But the others, Romania, Bulgaria, they also have huge diaspora groups which are increasing. I mean, not everything is bad. In all honesty, I'm not going to comment too much on Romania and Bulgaria. I know too little. I just know that the diaspora is increasing, which always is not the greatest sign. But for Greece, well, right now we have scandal after scandal. We have the prime minister who's spying on everyone. I always joke about this. Like, I don't need to even say my opinion about him publicly because he's looking at my messages anyway, so I can just say bad stuff in text and he will know. But
our Macedonian audience knows this. They did the same a couple of years ago in Macedonia.
So we have a huge espionage scandal. Then of course we have not just in Greece but also on the Croatian border. We have big scandals with how refugees are being treated by Frontex. Since 2014, there's over 25,000 people who drowned in the Mediterranean Sea, and none of it is exclusively Greece's fault, but it's happening in many cases on the border of the country. So it's definitely a responsibility of it. I don't see that it's going in a good direction, to be honest. I don't think that it's good that we have more and more problems also with journalists. On the press freedom index, the country is on the decline, which is a terrible thing to see. And in Croatia, everyone's leaving the country as well. There is not that much trust in like the political institutions. Now the euro is going to come in January, so let's see what's going to happen with that. It couldn't come at in my opinion, worst moment. I mean, you have inflation coming. Just to give you an example, maybe you know this as well, Dusan, from some of your friends. When I went to Zagreb a few months ago, and in the supermarket I saw the price in kuna, and next to it said it in euros, but the prices were very strange. It said something like €1. 34 cents or something like that, you know, and there's no way those prices are going to be the same. I think they're going to raise them to the next highest point, basically. So it's going to be either 1.50 or €2 in the long run, and the inflation that we already have is going to be even more heightened artificially because of the time that the country is now entering the euro. But to say something positive for the citizens, I mean, now it's joining Schengen as of January, which is good. Romania is not joining Schengen because of the Netherlands and because of Austria. So that's bad. I'm very much not agreeing with this.
Bulgaria also,
I don't
right?
see. Yeah,
No, Bulgaria is also.
Bulgaria as well. Yeah,
Also,
the
yeah.
same thing. They're also being blocked right now. Yeah. I don't think that overall the people see their future in the country. Young people. I think overall the people are looking at Western Europe, how to get money there, and maybe after they've made some money, maybe start a company, then move back home. That is a possibility.
Romania,
but realistically,
like-
for their career path, I don't see an increasing number wanting to be home. I see an increasing number wanting to leave, and I'm talking about young people because they are the future.
I mean, we cannot exclude all other peoples as well. Young people can be easily defined from 20s to
of
30
course.
something, but there are also 40s and 50s people that are just seeing no future at some point. Again, from point of view, I can say for non-EU countries, okay, in Croatia, there's a huge corruption. Also, political system doesn't function. It's there are multiple stuff we can start talk about this, but nevertheless, they're also living because of this. They don't see themselves living in that system. And then they find like, okay, where can I find a good job with my family, with my children? They're going this chain migration, not only one person, and then just go at the same time or stage by stage. I guess from all those countries, the best. Yeah, please.
No, because you said we shouldn't only talk about young people. You're 100% right. To give an example about older people, so who need to do basic things that are relevant for old people, like go to the hospital often or go to the doctor. The waiting time in Croatia, they are exploding. You're waiting so long to hospital appointments when you have, or doctor's appointments when you have them. You're waiting forever. It takes a really long time. So that's a big issue, the collapse of the medical system, because the people who are medically trained are all going to Germany, Austria, etc. I mean, a lot of it just goes back to brain drain. There are internal corruption issues too, which are just in the country, but a lot of the problems are linked to brain drain, actually.
Yeah,
Always comes to this.
This is also same for Turkey. I read something a few weeks ago. How many doctors went to Germany from Turkey, and how much money Germany profits because they didn't train them. Like it was around $20 billion, something like that, because they all got their education in Turkey, their training, and now they're like full package doctors ready to work in Germany.
That's sad, but it's true. It's the same not for Turkey, for other countries. And I think of all the countries from the Balkans, okay, our interpretation of the Balkans is all ex-EU. So other ones, the Balkans, including Romania and Moldova and Turkey, because of similar mentality, and you cannot avoid the influence. We also include Slovenia, although they don't want like to be called Balkans. I guess out of us all, they're working just fine. I don't see any diaspora of them besides Austria and Italy nearby cities. They can work there and come back. I don't know what's their story, why they're so happy, not to leave. They also have their issues. I don't know if you're aware of the situation in Slovenia.
Yeah. I mean, now that the government changed, before they had Janez Janša at the top, who is this guy who was very much friends with like Donald Trump, Nigel Farage, these type of people. They did have their internal domestic problems with populism, but now they have a government change, so let's see where they're heading. But yeah, they don't, at least economically speaking, much more stable and much sounder than the other ones. But I want to add something. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's only Slovenians who don't like this association. I often see this with people from Croatia who don't like this association with Balkans.
We're not Western Balkans. In the end, if everybody becomes part of you, who will stay as the Balkans? I mean, in that logic.
Yeah, it's right. So crazy to me because they joined the European Union in 2013, and before that, inside Western Europe as well, you so often had those conversations where people also talked about Croatia as if it's like a different planet, despite the fact that everyone goes for vacation, it's so close. But then the country joined, and now everyone's pretending, it's been always like part of this family. We're all like the West now, etc. But it's so funny to me because growing up until I was 19 when they joined, I never had any of this experience, and then it changed completely. And now everybody wants to tell me, no, we're no longer Balkans. It's ridiculous.
Now they're like Southeast Europe.
Yeah, essential. I don't know.
Austria, basically geographically.
Yeah, I don't know. Theoretically speaking, Bosnia becomes part of EU, which is really theoretical. One practical terms, it's very far away. But to point out, but if it becomes no, we're not anymore Balkans. Bye bye Balkans, and like I don't know how. It's nonsense. And as you said, it brings even more animosity between people. Okay, we know the relationship between Croats and Serbs, but people they say, oh, now they think they're better than all of us. Now they think that, but they're all the same when you go to Kafana. I mean, pointless,
Yeah.
but yet, yeah, it's really sad to hear and sad to see. But I'm happy for the World Cup that they did really good job. At least that's
Yeah.
Well, I'm not happy. I'm not happy about the songs that they had to sing to celebrate, but yeah, it was a good sport performance.
Hey, I went to the Croatian cafe in Hamburg for against Argentina. I guess I jinxed it because it's the only one I went. So I heard even worse. Don't worry. So I was there undercover. I didn't want to put any sign that I'm not Croat there. Just saying plain words, trying with Jekovic as much as possible. I like the atmosphere. I just didn't pay attention to the songs. Yeah.
So when somebody
all
asked you,
hugging me.
you just said, yeah. So when somebody asked you about the evening, you just said "Bilo jako lijepo," and you made a very strong emphasis on it.
Or in just in case, because after a few beers, I don't pay. I just of course, it's much easier. It's fun.
Yeah.
I had on the Serbian side. Oh, you went there. I can easily say no. I was a spy. You know. On the Croatian side, no, I was sympathizing. I was sympathizing you. So in both ways, I win. I don't care.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Oh, the amount of times that I have gotten this claim, oh, he's spying for. Like I have been now associated with I think like 12 countries to be a spy, and I always respond the same thing. Where is my check? You know, inflation is hitting, the economy is getting tougher. I want my money. I'm spying for so many people. I'm not seeing any money of it. It's the worst job I've ever taken in my life. Like I'm doing all of this for free. What is this?
You know,
Yeah, you're doing pro bono.
Yeah, you're too good spy. Even you cannot find your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. I can easily sell my country for no money at all. Just give me what else, I can easily do it. Yeah, it's really funny. The narrative people use it whenever you come with some thought that is not typical conservative in the Balkans. It's your European washed values, blah blah blah. Not somebody's paying you. Yeah, somebody says this, but like, yeah, of course, because Germany is supporting you, blah. That's why you say this. Hey, guy, or if I'm in relationship with somebody from the Balkans, yeah, that's because your girlfriend is this and this. Like, it doesn't have to do with it, man. It's just, yeah, it's completely insane. And
Yeah,
about my next, yeah,
you'll just take your phone. Okay, Olaf, they found me. Replace me with someone else.
Exactly. And my next question is, so we also mentioned this, so you talk about EU countries in the Balkans, the non-EU countries. So the future of the Balkans, which is the essence of those non-EU, where do you see them in the next 10, 20 years? Or more, or less?
Yeah. Well, hopefully in the EU. Hopefully. That's my biggest wish. So realistically, now
Put the bar down. Put the bar a bit down.
I mean, there's no way in the next 10 years, I think, that all of them are going to join. I don't see this happening. But there are some who have good chances. I think there's a really realistic chance that we will see both like Macedonian European Union country, Albanian European Union country. That is realistic. Montenegro is also, they have completed 33 out of 35 of the chapters complete. So it is realistic to assume. Yeah. I mean, with Serbia, it really depends on how the political developments there are going to be. The current leadership, I do not see in the next 10 years a future inside the European Union. I don't think that's realistic. Well, Bosnia, if they join the European Union within the next 10 years, anything on this planet is possible. I'm going to start doing the lottery, because if this happens, then everything goes.
Just listen to the Bioza collective. They are prolific. They see the future. If they think about it, it will happen. Like they did for World Cup in Brazil, in Samsung and stuff. So just wait and see.
Yeah, and then for Kosovo, for Kosovo, we still have 5 EU countries that are not recognizing it. So, and there's tensions right now again between Kosovo and Serbia until all of this is settled. I don't know what's going to happen, and to be honest, that's not something that anybody from us can predict at all, because those developments are always very like volatile and happen. It seems sometimes that nobody knows what's happening, and then it just happens. So I'm not going to comment. I'm not going to predict. I hope that there is going to be some solution, because in the current status quo, in my opinion, nobody's winning. You only have losers from each side. There's nobody for whom the current status quo is beneficial, especially not for the citizens. I mean, nobody's wrong. You have some politicians that are making a lot of money from this and their connections as well. But looking at the broad population, nobody's winning. But I don't think that in the next 10 years we can expect inside the EU. Although we can, if things go well, we can see a big improvement in terms of recognition, in terms of solving the tensions between Serbia and Kosovo. But let's see. Let's hope for the best.
And what would you say to the people? I mean, people usually only heard the pros about the EU. Can you tell us now, okay, let's be realistic. This is what you'll potentially get, and this is what you'll probably will not get, for people to know and understand that are not reading a lot about EU, just hearing the news and stuff, both young and old. What advice would you give?
Well, I mean, I would like to mention some of the pro things, because it's been quite a negative episode so far from my side. So I would like to mention some things, and then I will say the negative things, of course, too.
My advice is to start negative and then positive, because you're ending narrative in a bad way. So
sure.
More optimistic in the end.
Yeah, okay, good. So, well, then let's start with the negative ones. One of the things that people always need to keep in mind is that there are economic centers in the European Union, namely Germany, France, Italy. I mean, the biggest GDP countries. And they, of course, also have quite a large population. They have much more members of the European Parliament. What they say in the institutions where it's rare that governments speak with each other. I'm trying not to use all the technical terms to not confuse people. So what they say in the intergovernmental relations, of course, has much more weight, because they are so economically important. So it needs to be understood, but I think this is very common knowledge already, that joining the EU will not mean automatically that your economy is going to go through the roof. Everything is going to go, because you still very much depend on the goodwill of the others. If they decide things that are not going to be beneficial to you, it will be problematic. And in negotiations, you have less leverage than them, of course. But that being said, it does offer you a lot of opportunities. It does offer you access to, let's say, research funds for better mobility, to gain more work experience. It definitely, looking at it internationally, it offers you also protection, because if you're inside the European Union, you're also you're increasing your leverage when it comes to trade negotiations, because trade is handled by all EU members together. It's not something that the countries do individually. So you, as a country, like let's say Albania, you join the EU, you will have more leverage, because you offer a bigger single market to the persons that it's being negotiated with, that trade deal. Environmentally, there's going to be a lot of benefits, because environmental laws are very strong. So in terms of pollution, in terms of plant reduction, they're definitely stronger than what we have in place right now in most cases in the Western Balkans. And yeah, also some of the things that I would like to mention. I'm not gonna go on a longer monologue than that and keep adding things, but yeah, those are some things.
Thank you very much. Onat, do you have something else to add?
I can add one negative thing for people of Turkey. You will have to separate your garbage in the house if you join the EU.
I'll give advice. You get used to it quick. I mean, Marco was born in a society where it's normal. So at the beginning, I inherited later on. You get used to it. Okay, it gets confusing sometimes. Is this really a plastic, or is this the aluminum part, or is this really biodegradable? I get sometimes also panic attack if I put this, and is the bag 90%? So I guess it's just me, but I guess in most of Turkey it will be just like fun. You will get used to it one day, if not EU, but just to have it in Turkey, it would be nice.
Yeah, hopefully.
and the full system on it, not like just like in Serbia was at one point, and I guess in Bosnia. So they were collecting it, so they were separating it, and then the truck comes along and put it all together. And okay, you start something, you finish, not just the middle way. And just we did something. We have containers.
The important point is the intention. So they have the good intention. So yeah,
to giving impression, like you see, we're doing something. Doesn't work, but we're still doing something. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. But other than that, I don't have any questions. Thank you. I mean, if you have anything, Dushan.
No, that was all from my side. I want to thank you, Marco, for coming. It was informative. We got the answer that we wanted. I hope our audience was also satisfied. It was really fun for me. I hope for you as well. Very interesting. Hope to see you in the future again. For our audience, they can write us if you want to do some other topic with you. Also, we're going to share the link of your social media platforms and also about your project, EU for You, to promote you. And yeah, thank you again.
Thank you very much. And it was really, really nice. And it was really a pleasure to meet you with you, sort of face to face. We can call it now face to face. Thank you again.
Let's hope to meet you in person as well.
Definitely. I mean, the next podcast or the next meeting is going to be in a kafana, hopefully. So we can fight about who's going to pay for everything. That's going to be nice. But yeah, really thank you for the invitation, and best of luck with the project. I am really, really going to follow it closely and try to promote it as well, because I think it's amazing. And anybody listening, especially those who are from the Balkans or have a Balkan background, you see that it's possible that people from different countries come together, they have nice conversations, do a cool project together. So take that as inspiration. If you have an idea that you think is worth exploring, reach out to the people who are your neighboring countries, of course, in your country as well, and just do it and see what happens. I think it's a really good thing to take away from your show. Just do it, just try it, and something good can come out of it.
We could not say better. Thank you so much, Marco. Good luck with your next project and your next career step in Vienna, by the way.
Thank you.
The door to the Balkans, yeah.
Yeah.
That was all. Thank you once more, and see you all. Bye-bye.
Ciao.